so many of your stories are interspersed with food, and you include a number of recipes in this book. It's a memoir, but it's got some great recipes. Could you talk about maybe just one of the recipes and how it resonated with what was going on in your life at the time?
Sure. I can talk about the first recipe in the book, which is a recipe for kumquat chutney. My parents live here in Los Angeles. They live in a suburb of Los Angeles in the San Gabriel Valley, and they had fruit trees, and we had this beautiful kumquat tree, and when we would walk, I lived very close to my high school, and we would stomp on them, on our way to school and squish them, or we would dare each other to eat them. So for me, that kumquat tree, and also my uncle and aunt had a big navel orange tree in their backyard in Orange County. So we used to make pickles out of those oranges too. And my grandmother made, we didn't have a lot of money in India, so even buying fruit was a luxury. So, often my grandfather would buy fruit once in a while, and we would take it in a basket if we were going to someone else's house, much like here you would take a bottle of wine when you're going to dinner somewhere. And when we had fruit, it was a really big deal because there were a lot of grandchildren. My grandmother, would save the tangerine peels and let them get dry just a little bit, and then chop them up really fine and make a really delicious spicy chutney or pickle with this. And that recipe is actually in my last cookbook in Tangy Tart. And so I was going through a very tough time in my life, which is where the book starts. And I was very depressed. I was living in a hotel with all of my belongings around me in cardboard boxes. And my mother had sent me some kumquats just to cheer me up, and some curry leaves or whatever. And they were sitting on top of a box, and they just kind of rained down when I bumped into a box and fell down almost like out of the sky or out of heaven. And I really hadn't been eating. I hadn't been eating so much that the chef, who was a friend of mine in the lobby restaurant, would often send me plates of food because it was very thin. And, I had just suffered a very painful breakup in my marriage. And so that kumquat chutney, I thought, I had to write an article for Gourmet, and I needed to deliver, and I thought, okay, well, I can make something with this kumquat chutney. Anyway, so I did that, and I still love that kumquat chutney because it reminds me of home, and it reminds me of just a more tranquil time emotionally where I didn't have that many cares in the world, as most of us. Childhood is a wonderful, charming place to go back to. And I think food does that. It's very transportive. And I think we all have those touchstones. And there's a scientific reason for that. Where emotional memory is stored in the brain is also where our sense of taste and the olfactory sense is located. So that's why you can taste a cinnamon cookie and be immediately transported to your grandmother who used to bake them for Easter or something. And so that happens to all of us, and I think food has this immense emotional power, and we don't see that emotional context, often in media, my show included, and I kind of wanted to bring that in because it was so central to my life.